welcome. You're watching India Ahead News. Now, while India doesn't recognize same-sex marriage as legal, the conversation around that is still happening. But couples across India have been celebrating their wedding and intimately and ceremonies that are taking place around the country. Post-lockdown, pre-lockdown as well, you've seen couples celebrating in their own ways after the Supreme Court in 2019 had decriminalized homosexuality. There has been hope for many of those couples, but still, legal recognition remains a challenge. Joining us today is Abhishek Ray and Chaitanya Sharma. Abhishek and Chaitanya got married this year in a ceremony which involved 200 guests, and the celebrations took place in the city of Kolkata, where the parents of both of them were part of that ceremony, and the celebration, of course, continued for days on end. Abhishek and Chaitanya will be with us in a short while. Chaitanya, pardon me, will be with us. Abhishek is with us. Thank you, Abhishek, for joining us on the program. Now, the conversation around legalizing same-sex marriage has started in the country, with the top court, of course, also taking up the matter. With the conversation that's happening, Abhishek, where do you think the challenges are in terms of not just legalizing same-sex marriage, but also taking up the issue and having a proper discussion around it in a society like ours?
Uh, I guess I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are. Go ahead, Abhishek.
Yeah. So, see, we are in the 21st century now, and the first thing that whether we're talking about legalizing same-sex marriage or whatever, is that we have to be very open-minded, and we have to be kind towards everyone, and we have to realize that like now everyone has got the right to live their life according to their own wish and according to their own will, as long as they are not actually coming across anybody's path, or they are doing anything that is actually harming anybody's sentiments. So yes, legalizing the way it has been decriminalized. So now it's time that it does get legalized amongst same-sex couples, the gay or lesbian or any of the LGBTQIA community that we are talking about. Not just legalizing, there are a lot of other issues which also need to be addressed at the same time, like uh, like one very great thing is that some of the banks have actually started allowing same-sex couples to have like joint accounts. Same-sex couples should be able to buy properties on their name. Same-sex couples should be able to adopt children. So just the way like me and Chaitanya, we got socially married, and we were welcomed in such a beautiful way, with so much of support and so much of positivity. The moment it gets legalized, life will definitely become a much more easier for same-sex couples like us. Yeah.
Right, and Chaitanya, you've been married to Abhishek in that ceremony, and it's been quite a few months since both of you, took part in it. But as
Yeah.
Abhishek points out, that legally it still remains a challenge, and now that we're going ahead with that conversation, at least in the top court, where perhaps we could expect some changes in the near future. We don't know what the trajectory of the legal challenges would be so far, but for you, Chaitanya, since the time you both concluded that ceremony and how beautiful it was, we saw in the pictures, what kind of narrative do you think that has set now for the couples who want to get married? And there is an increasing demand by couples who say that making it legal is very important. It's the need of the hour. In fact, that is exactly what the lawyers for the petitioners had told the court, that look, it's been years, for some even decades, to adopt a child legally has become a problem. Surrogacy is a problem. Succession rights are a problem. Inheritance rights are a problem. All of these issues might seem insignificant on the surface, but they do really matter to the couples who've been waiting for a very long time to see that these challenges are removed, at least from their lives.
Uh, Absolutely correct, to be very honest. See, everyone have rights to live with dignity, and law should also protect us with all the equal rights that any other married couple gets. See, the best thing happened after we got married is when we walk down to street, people have to people don't see us now as two boys. They have to see us as family. So because after we got married, Abhishek and me, we both are our family. So people have to see us as a family, and that we want that it should be legally be considered by the our community, or the family members, or the relatives as well. The kind of acceptance that we got was amazing. The kind of people response that we got after we got married is amazing. But on the legal front, and if you talk about the rights that we should have, it should be equal to any other married couple, like boy or girl. So that is something. And from the if you talk about the adoption and on, of course, we people should also, like the same sex partner should also have that uh, rights, that if we are willing to adopt any kid, we should be able to. And of course, we also want to expand our family with our own kid. So why not?
But the ambiguity around what qualifies as a family unit also something that the court wants to look into very deeply, we've seen. And because the center stand has been completely different when it comes to what is the family as a unit, the biological mother and the father. Of course, there's a huge scope there for discussion. But Abhishek, pointing out to how the narrative is being set around recognizing same-sex marriage is legal in this country, especially after Section 377 was struck down by the top court. That also took in itself a decade or so of, campaigning, of raising awareness around the issue, especially in the national capital. We kept the narrative afloat, but there are many cities and rural areas where things do not seem to go well with people, especially couples who are trying to come out, let alone getting married has become a challenge in itself. Many not aware of their legal rights. Still, it's been 3 years since, as I was saying, that important ruling came into existence. But at the same time, do you think, in terms of narrative, we're just having some sort of tokenism when it comes to exploring the rights of the LGBTQ community beyond just allowing them to live together and actually giving them an equal status of a married couple?
Like if I look back like 10 to 12 years back, like the way we talk about a gay couple or a lesbian couple, or like a transgender having his or her rights, okay, we were not this open, like, even 10, 12 years back, okay. But like now, if we look at society in general around, with so much of narrative happening in films, in ad films, in like, in the creative art forms, like people are slowly opening up to the whole idea, and people who did not have that kind of a knowledge, they are also actually curious to know exactly what it is like. Probably when I realized uh like, my sexuality, that time, like, I didn't even probably know the term gay, or what it means, or something like that. Like now, even children are actually growing up with the idea that, like there are certain very progressive parents which I get to see amongst my friends, okay. They are actually raising up children in the way that, it's not necessarily that a boy has to like a girl, or a girl has to like a boy can like a boy, a girl can like a girl. So it's that narrative is happening, like, slowly, overall, around the section of the society which we belong to, which I always say ki, yes, I am in a way lucky to be a part of a privileged section which has had the education and the exposure to have accepted homosexuality easily, and kind of like make it a part of their everyday lives, like my parents or my family or Chaitanya's family or whatever. But when we actually look at the rural section of the society, um, like I'll give you an example. Like when we were getting married, like, we did have a problem of finding a pandit who would actually do our wedding. But then finally, the person who did it, he was actually so he explained the situation so beautifully. He said, he like, I look at you guys as the true torch bearers of the society. because there are so many people in my village. I know, like, if they come to know that their boy is actually dating a boy, then they would probably, like, kill that person, or, like, they would probably, like, throw that person out of the house, and he will be, like, kind of and the entire property rights would be taken away from him, and he would be ostracized. So yes, in the rural section, in the section of the society which is less opportunate to have that kind of education and exposure, it still is a long way to go, I would say. Yeah.
I do have something to question, Chaitanya. With as Abhishek pointed out, initially the pandit was not ready for the ceremony, and somehow you guys did make it. Tell us about that story. What happened there?
So we had a word with a couple of Panditji, and they said they are not sure what needs to be done, what all rituals to be followed, because whatever wedding that they have done, mostly there was boy and a girl, and they consider a boy as a Narayan and girl as a Lakshmi. So in your case, there will be two Narayan. So they were not sure what all rituals to be done. Some of the Panditis said, we will do only Varmala, and that will be counted as a wedding. Wherein our thought was to follow all the rituals, doing Varmala, Fera, and everything. So somehow we got in touch with our family Panditji, like the Abhishek's family Panditji, and the way he took the entire thing of our getting idea of getting married was amazing, because he was very positive about our marriage. And even some of the cases he also counseled our family members that whatever you are doing for your children is so great, and of course it's going to help the other people in villages, and their family will also understand what you are doing for your own kids. So I think initially there was a struggle, but later with the help of our family Panditji, it went really well.
Well, family Panditji seem to have really understood problems here. It sets an example for
Yes.
the rest of the world. And how, of course, because every time there is a transformation or there is a progression required, it always boils down to the society values, the rituals that have been in place, and somehow that are interlinked to our personal laws as well. But Abhishek and Chaitanya, before we conclude this beautiful conversation, there is one particular thing that I wanted to bring to your notice as well. Now, the marketability of the concept is also pretty much prevalent. If you see how television ads or, say, social media ads trying to throw in some light and trying to give more reason to this cause, where the society at large remains sometimes indifferent or doesn't want to recognize the rights of individuals, particularly belonging to the LGBTQ community or same-sex couples who want to gain more legal rights than what they already have. For example, let's put it, Shadi.com, apart from its other services for heterosexual couples, it's also launching services for same-sex couples. Do you believe that
Yes.
this is a genuinely just a marketable concept, or there is some genuine reason in it to build a narrative to change attitudes in the Indian society? Which one do you think it is?
I think it. I think all the big companies, like, who are actually looking into it, and they are going ahead with coming up with some policies or the other for same-sex couples. I think it's a genuine attempt on their part, and it's a beautiful thing that they are doing, and it's actually giving so much of positive energy and encouragement to all the people who have not been yet been able to gather the courage to become vocal, and when you actually see certain actions being taken for you on your behalf, you also feel like, ki, yes, things are moving in the right direction. And I think this entire, like what you're saying, the marketability point of view, like we see any, like all the series or movies or any kind of like entertainment that we get to see in all the different OTT platforms, they are throwing in, maybe for even for a like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, they are throwing in a one character which is homosexual, or they are throwing in some homosexual element into it, which is actually helping a lot in regularizing the concept amongst people, amongst the entire society. So I really look at it in a very positive way, and I
Yeah,
think
me
it's
too.
it's a
Like,
brilliant thing
to be
that they are
very
doing.
if I have to add it, like we are really thankful for those brands who's taken initiatives towards the LGBTQI plus community, where because I personally experienced before we got married, there is one of the bank who offered us a joint bank account, and they offer same-sex partners to open joint bank account. If I'll talk about the company, in my company, the inclusivity and diversity is at the par, and the kind of rights that we have in our workplace, like I declared Abhishek as my as a spouse in my health insurance. So in our corporate, we can declare a same-sex partner also in health insurance. So I declared him at my workplace. So I can see that was an amazing initiative, and I can see a sense of security that I get from my company or some of the bank which is offering. And there are a lot of other industry, and of course, as Abhishek highlighted, the OTT platform or the film industry who's coming up with the new like the entire character or the movie around this topic is amazing. So things are changing, and we are having lots of dialogues these days, and it's going to bring a amazing or good change for our society.
Right, and the kind of power that movies and especially shows on various other streaming websites in India holds is immense. And
Yes,
if there is a shift in narrative there from just what the cliche representation we've seen in the last decade, from
absolutely.
movies of Karan Johar now to evolving to something more real and more effective on the ground is what is needed, because the narrative that we need to focus on needs to address the real issues at hand and not create more stigmas. Thank you, Abhishek and Chaitanya, for sharing your time with us here on India News. Good to hear your views, and I hope the future is as good for other couples who are seeking legal remedies as it has been for the both of you. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for
Most
having
welcome.
us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition. We get you more updates on the other side here on India News. Do stay tuned.